Hey guys, good evening. This is Hani Mahmoud, CPA, owner of Accountable Consulting. Just want to walk you through this tax organizer. So again, you get the luxury of hearing my beautiful voice, but also getting to understand what I need from you, from the organizer. So you can see my screen as I talk to you. Again, you'd have this similar email right here. You want to click the View Organizer button. And again, you log in and here's the organizer. Intro questions. This is asking if you're a new existing client. If you're a new client, thank you again for reaching out to us. We appreciate the business as always. Next question is asking what type of return do you need? Either it's personal or business, right? So if you have a personal return, you have no indications of any business or anything like that, just click personal. But if you have a business, let's say an LLC or not even LLC, like you did Uber or you did some type of DoorDash or whatever it may be, you want to click personal with business. Anything besides that, if you have a business partnership, S Corp, C Corp, you could just pick there. And again, it'll be other questions we're going to ask you, but this is just a generic intake form that we need. It's asking you, do you need to file any prior year returns? If you do, you can go to the IRS to create an account. This account is really helpful. It actually lets you know like what years you filed. Do you owe anything to the IRS? And you can get wage and income transcripts from the IRS. The wage and income transcripts are important because let's say you don't have your physical tax documents for that year, you can get them from the IRS directly. And this is what the IRS has on file in terms of income for you. I'm not telling you to lie, but I'm just telling you that this is what the IRS has. So it's just important if you lost all your documents in a move or whatever it may be, you can find that easily through there. This information is redacted though, meaning that it doesn't give you all the information. If you wanted to use it to e-file, we'd have to probably call the IRS for you to get the actual unmasked, they say, transcripts. Or you could call them to get the unmasked transcripts. If you wanted to get them, they would probably mail them to you. They would not give it to you over the internet. Just something to consider. If you need to file any prior year returns, it will ask you those questions. Again, 2021 and 2020, it will take you to this COVID section of the organizer. Again, if that applies, you'll see the questions. It's self-explanatory. Taxpayer information. Again, this portal is secured, so please put your social security number in there. If you don't, we may have to call you to get it, and it can create a lag as we become, busier and busier throughout tax season. So, self-explanatory information there. Addresses are important. Obviously, people move all the time. So if you plan on moving in the near future, let us know what that address is going to be. So we can update that on the return prior to filing. If, let's say, you may owe, or, you're expecting something in the mail from the IRS, you obviously want to update your address there. If you're moving, in 2022, you move to another state. It's going to ask you a question about that. That's very important as well for the state portion of the return. So you may be a part-year resident of Georgia, then you move to California, vice versa. So just something to consider. General status, it's going to ask you like whether you're single, married, can anyone else claim you as a dependent? Whether if you're legally blind or deaf. If you are, you could get an extra or stepped up standard deduction. It's going to ask if you have a special PIN from the IRS, meaning that let's say somebody filed on your behalf that wasn't supposed to, you would be assigned a special PIN. If you were, or you want that special PIN so no one can file, quote unquote, on your behalf, you would create that IRS account and request a special PIN. So to ask you, did you sell any crypto or buy any crypto any part of the year? That's something, that's information the IRS wants to know about now. Dependents, asking if you had any dependents, are there any changes to, dependents from last year? So to go through the generic steps and ask you, are you going to claim your parents, or you claim your aunt, uncle, things of that nature. The more information we have about that, we can decide and decipher for you whether you can claim somebody or not. So that's why we ask for all the information. Once you fill that out, it should basically ask you for the information of those dependents, like the name, socials. Again, this is a secure portal. So please put all the information in there and fill out this information to the best of your knowledge. And that's that. For that, you can add and you can also delete. So pretty cool there. All right, this is the bulk, the meat and potatoes, what the IRS wants to know about. They got eyes. W-2. If you're an employee, you essentially would get a W-2. You don't know you're an employee. You don't know you're a contractor. Good question, I guess. So if you're an employee, you're getting a paycheck. A paycheck meaning that federal taxes, Social Security, Medicare, and the state that you reside in, taxes are coming out of your check. So if that's the case, you're going to get a W-2. So important. We're asking you if you had a W-2, but obviously on the next message, you want to give us all your W-2s. Again, I know a lot of people have a lot of different jobs, things of that nature, but the more information we have and all the information we have, the less likely that you're going to get some sort of notice from the IRS or have to amend your taxes later, which we're striving to do. All right, 1099 INT, interest income. So if you have an interest bearing account with Wells Fargo or with Bank of America, you're going to get interest income, especially in lieu of the rates being 3% now or whatever they may be. You're going to get a document saying that the bank is paying you for keeping money at the bank. So we need to know about that. 1099 DIV is dividends. You're going to get that on a stock brokerage account more than likely. If you have a single, certificate of shares, you would get it there. But something that we need to know. Distribution income from retirement plans, pensions, or 401ks. Again, if that applies to you, we need to know about it. If you had any Social Security income or disability income from Social Security Administration, you're going to get a 1099 SSA. Important to get. You could sign up to I believe mysocialsecurity.gov to log in to get that document if you need to be. If you sold any stocks, essentially that's going to be on your brokerage statement from the brokerage account. So it could be, hey, I had Robinhood, I had Acorns, I had Stash, I had Apex. I had Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan, TD Ameritrade, E-Trade, everything. I can go on and on, but we need all those accounts. So just because you click that one box, again, on the next line item, you would need to give us all that information from all those accounts. If you had restricted stock options or, stock options or RSUs or vested stocks that, stocks that vested throughout the year and that you sold, essentially you may have supplemental information or a schedule per se from the brokerage accounts that you have the stocks in. So if you click that box, we're going to ask you for that information. Again, we're just kind of walking you through. If you sold your house, we need to know. Why, Annie? You need to know because attorneys are reporting this to the IRS. If you don't tell me, the attorney's already reported to the IRS. And if I don't file it, you're basically may get a notice later on saying, hey, you owe us $100,000. You'll be like, what? So you need to report it. It's probably going to be capital gain exclusion anyways, where you're not going to pay any taxes on it, but we need to know about it. If you received alimony, we need to know about it. If you had any type of 1099 non-employee compensation, 1099 miscellaneous, 1099K is referring to credit card income or credit card processing. If you had a credit card for your business or your personal name, it doesn't even matter, and you were accepting payments, you're going to have a 1099K. So something that we need to know about. Again, self-employed income or expenses, we need to know about it. If you had any sales of any investment properties, we need to know about it, or any land. Again, when you sell stuff with attorneys, I'm just letting you know that they're reporting it to the IRS all the time, more than likely. So just something to understand that you need to provide us that information. If you have any rental properties, we need to know about it, or rental income from Airbnb, VRBO. If you got any publishing income or royalties, you're probably going to get some sort of 1099 from, ASCAP, BMI, whatever it may be. So something we didn't know. If you have a partnership or an S corp, and we do not do the tax return, we need the K1 form. The K1 is just a representative of your share of equity of the profit or loss from that business. Something to give us. So we have that. If you have a farming business, again, we need the income and expenses regarding that. If you received any 1099 or unemployment income throughout the year, you're going to get a 1099G. If you had any gambling winnings, not losses, winnings, you're going to get a W2G from the casino. Something too important to report. We can deal with the losses and whether they're the winnings outweigh the losses, things of that nature. But we want to know about the winnings. because again, that's what the IRS wants to know because they want to get their money, right? Cancellation of debt. If you had, let's say, a credit card, Bank of America, and times are hard and you got it discharged, Bank of America is more likely to send you a 1099-C. That's basically saying that, hey, this debt was discharged, and the IRS is in turn usually going to try to pick that up as income. There's a ways around it. We could talk about it more. If you were insolvent, you could fill out this form to kind of bypass that. But just something to consider. HSAs, health savings account, not flex spending account. It's a health savings account. If you took money out of your health savings account, you're going to get this document. It's not like, oh, Hanny, they never gave it to me. No, you're going to get a document for that. So health savings account, not flex spending account. Again, if you took money out, we need to know about that. If we don't get it, you may get a notice, 2 years down the line saying, hey, you failed to report this. And you may be like, what are you doing? So I just need to know about it because I want to do the return in one clean take. If we need to do an amendment, we can. But again, it just creates headache, confusion, things of that nature. So something to know about. And then lastly, on the income basis, if you took any money out for your kids' 529 plan that wasn't used for educational expenses, we essentially, we need to know about it. You'll get a document, 1099-Q. All right, it's going to ask you about, do you have any foreign income? If you're abroad and you're earning income abroad, you could have a foreign income exclusion, right? And you may not have to pay taxes. So it's just going to ask you something about that. If you're abroad and you're still a U.S. citizen, right, you're supposed to claim the worldwide income. And also, if you're abroad and you have more than $10,000 in a bank account and a business, or excuse me, like in a bank account overseas, let's say London or whatever it may be, you're supposed to fill out an FBAR form. So it's just something to consider. It's probably not going to apply to a lot of you guys, but just want to give you that game. All right, deductions. Everyone loves some deductions. All right, educator expenses. If you're a teacher, K through 12, you can get a deduction up to $250 for classroom supplies, books, things of that nature that weren't reimbursed. If you moved any part of the year and you're part of the military, let's say the armed forces, Navy, Army, Air Force, whatever it may be, and you weren't reimbursed for your moving expenses, you can deduct that. If you were part of the reserves and you had to travel outside of your metro base, meaning let's say it's more than 50 to 100 miles from where your house is, you could, deduct the hotel expenses, meals, things of that nature. That applies. HSA, health saving contributions. We were just talking about distributions in the income side, because if you took a distribution for non-medical related expenses, it's considered income. But this is, I'm asking you about contributions. If you had contributions, it would be on your W-2, but sometimes outside of the document, you may have that as well. So just something to consider. If you're self-employed, you have health insurance premiums. Again, we want to know about that, but it's a deduction. If you had to pay alimony out, and I believe they changed the rules, it was pre-2019. If you did have alimony, let us know so we could potentially have a deduction for you there. We just have to discuss it. If you made any contributions or plan on making any contributions before the tax deadline, we need to know about that as well. So traditional Roths or traditional IRAs, Roth IRAs, SEP IRAs, you have solo 401ks. There's multitude retirement vehicles that you could, basically deduct a lot of your expenses from your business if you have one. So please make sure to reach out to us on that. If you had student loans, we need to know about, student loan interest paid. You may not be able to deduct it depending on your income limit, but we still need to know about it. Foreign taxes paid. So if you had, if you were on tour with an artist and you basically had to pay taxes in Korea or, Korea, Belgium, wherever it may be, Italy, you could, take that deduction on the foreign taxes paid against, what they deducted from your earnings. Daycare expenses. If you had your child in daycare, we need to know about it. You could deduct that to allow you to either go to school or to, work properly. Medical expenses, anything over 7.5%. So if you made $100,000 and your threshold, for example, you made $100,000. The threshold is 7.5% of your adjusted gross income, right? So if you don't have any, if you had $8,000 worth of medical expenses, you can only deduct $500. So just something to consider when we're looking at either you're going to itemize or take the standard deduction. Self-explanatory: property taxes on primary residence, property taxes on land that you may own, property taxes on, again, a secondary home, ad valorem tax. Here in Georgia, we have that on the new vehicle. It could be hefty, so it's something that you need to consider. If you ad valorem tax on old vehicles, mortgage interest that you paid on, your primary house, your secondary. Again, even on investment properties, we're going to deal with that on the rental side, but that's something we need to think about. Points that you paid on a mortgage if you refinanced or if you closed on a new home this year. We need to know about that. PMI is private mortgage insurance. If you own less than 20% in your house, equity-wise, you're going to be paying PMI. So that's usually going to be on your 1098, but we just want to make sure that it is. And sometimes your mortgage gets sold from one mortgage lender to another. And so you need to track that down throughout the year to make sure that we have that. So again, hopefully that makes sense. Cash contributions, it could be, cash that you give to a religious organization, goodwill, whatever it may be, it's just got to be a nonprofit. If you are giving money to GoFundMe, which is a great cause, if it's not a 501c3, you can't deduct it. So it's just something to consider. Again, I'm not the rule person. I'm just giving you the rules. If you were to get audited by the IRS and you did something with GoFundMe, they would probably, they're going to disallow it and you're going to have to pay it back. Goodwill. If you had any goodwill things, we need to know about it. We basically will ask you more questions, but we need to know about what type of documents you gave, to who, to where, what time, all that good stuff. If you have any investment advisory fees in a business account, because they did change the rules, please let us know about that. Safety deposit box fees as well, and gambling losses. More questions on deductions, asking if you bought a new home. It's asking if you trade any stocks on a margin line of credit, meaning that you have a line of credit for trading stocks. You could deduct the investment interest there. It's asking more questions about, just did you do community service work through a, religious organization throughout the year? If you did, you could deduct the mileage to and from, the parking costs. Let's say you traveled on your own merit to a different city to help out. You could do that, the convention costs, the travel costs, the uniform costs if you had to buy a shirt, things of that nature. If you had a casualty and theft loss, so casualty and theft loss, I would say deals with like an active nature, or let's say, for example, there was a big flood, right, in Florida, and you were in Florida and part of the hurricanes, and you had a loss that the insurance company didn't fully cover. You could essentially potentially deduct the loss on your Schedule A and your taxes. It's asking if you went to school any part of the year, whether you did or your spouse or your children, dependents, whatever it may be. We need to know about that, because if that's the case, it's an important document. 1098T, very important. So people usually will ask about that. That gets you a lot of money back. And depending on if you went to school less than 4 years or more than 4 years, you can claim the American Opportunity Credit, which is what you want to claim. Again, I'm not telling you to lie, and I'm relying on the usefulness of the information you give me, but that's the credit that gets you, the big bang for your buck. But you can deduct school supplies, equipment, laptops, things of that nature with that. If you made any energy efficient improvements to your house, water heater, solar panels, windows insulation, heat pumps, furnaces, whatever it may be, those can be deductible. So something we want to know about. If you purchased any electrical vehicles, Teslas do not apply anymore, but let's say it could be a Nissan Leaf, it could be a Ford Lightning, it could be the new Jeep Wrangler that's a hybrid. If you look at that link, it will show you all the list of the cars that potentially qualify for the credits and what credits they are. And, that's helpful to know when you're looking at car shopping or whatever it may be. If you had marketplace health insurance, if you went to marketplace.gov to get health insurance, you need to give me this document. It's called a 1095A. That's why I'm asking if you had it or not. If I try to file your return, they won't even allow me to push it through anymore without that document. So I'll probably know if you had it, but you may be shocked if you didn't give it to me at first, but just something to consider. 529s. If you're in Georgia, I'm talking about the good old Georgia folks. If you're in Georgia and you had a pathway to college savings plan for your children, grandchildren, you can deduct the money. And I believe it's $8,000 they up the limit. You don't get that great of a deduction, and it's on the only deductions only related to Georgia. I'm just letting you know about that. Any of my DC folks, if you did purchase a house in DC, there could be a credit. If you got the Obama credit, I would call it per se, or the first time home buyer credit in 2008, the $7,500 that you had to pay back and you sold the house, we need to know about that as well. Usually doesn't apply. If you had a household employee, most people don't have household employees, but some of my clients do. A nanny, a housekeeper, a groundskeeper is typically somebody that works inside the house, right? If you just had somebody that cuts your grass, they're not a housekeeper. So if you had a housekeeper employee, you do have to, set them up and pay, give them a W-2. So some taxes associated with that, and it could be costly for you, just to let you know. But again, following the rules and just telling you about it. If you made any gifts to anybody up to $15,000, we need to know about it. It's not a thing that's going to be like taxable. It's just more of a compliance paperwork with the states and things of that nature. So we didn't know about it. If you provided a scholarship to any live in Georgia, and you provided a scholarship to a school of your choice or a school that your children go to, you potentially could claim a credit for it. If you want to learn more about that, you got to be pre-approved. Let us know. We can figure that out. Banking information for the good old folks that get a refund. God bless you. The people that owe, God bless you. We need to know your routing and account number, right? And we want to make sure that it's right. If we file it, right, and we send it to you to get approved, and you approve your draft, and I changed my routing number, I can't do anything about it, right? Like, it's in the hands of the IRS. So again, I am not the IRS, and I do not control your money regarding the refund. I do help try to get you the most money back or owe the least amount of money, but I do not control the money. I wish I did, but I don't. So just something to consider. Lastly, just asking, hey, did you make any tax estimates throughout the year? If you owed money, I encourage you to pay quarterly, or make some type of estimates towards your taxes throughout the year. If you want to talk about it, please, let's talk about it. Let's just ask you a line item right here about that. Lastly, just asking about if you have any questions, concerns, something that we could do to help you out to understand your taxes better, and if you received any correspondence from any type of State Department or the IRS. If you did, just tell us yes and just upload it to our portal. But that is it, folks. And I appreciate you guys listening to this. I hope you guys will actually listen to it and appreciate this shirt and tie, because I've been eating a little too much lately. But good luck with everything, and hopefully I could be of any assistance to you guys, and look forward to hearing from every one of you guys, and all the best. Thank you very much for your time. God bless.